I'm gonna take a look at the iPhone 8 from the 2020 perspective. Let's get started. So if you take a look at this phone, you may already see that the design is a little bit outdated. It has been considered to be outdated even back in the day, even back in 2017 when it got released, because it was released alongside the iPhone 10, which had the brand new design where almost the entire front panel was covered with a screen with display, and many other smartphones already starting to adopt this new design. With this mindset, the iPhone 8 may seem to be a little bit outdated, but iPhone 9 is about to be released, which is supposed to have the very same design, and it's still gonna give you the feeling that this kind of design, this kind of phone just got released, and it's something that still looks cool and people still use it. So I wouldn't really care. I wouldn't be worried too much about the design and the way the iPhone 8 looks. It still gives you the premium feel because it has glass on front and on the back side, which allows for the wireless charging. I'm gonna be talking about that later in the video, but the iPhone 8 was the first iPhone to ever feature a wireless charging, so it means that you won't miss out on that. Let's talk about the display. Well, it's also had a couple of new things that we haven't seen on an iPhone before. For example, the True Tone display. Of course, it has been here on a couple of iPad models, but it was the first one to be a part of the iPad. The display is a little average, I would say, and people consider it to be average, but that does not mean that it is bad or that it isn't nice to look at it even in 2020. I still think that the display stands out. Of course, no OLED technology, but the dark mode still looks good. A lot of people are convinced that if they don't have an OLED display, the dark mode isn't effective and it doesn't make sense to use dark mode on an LCD panel. But I definitely think that it makes a difference. It still looks nice. Of course, the pixels don't shut off just like on OLED display, but it's still a nice phone. And the viewing angles are still great. You can take a look at it from sides, from an angle, and you can still see what's on the screen. And the display is overall great in my opinion. If you take a look at the pixels per inch, and if you compare it to like iPhone 11, which is the brand new and the latest iPhone, or to the iPhone 10R, it has the very same PPI. I mean, the same resolution pretty much as on the latest iPhone 11. So this display is really nice. And also it has the same brightness as, again, as the iPhone 11, and also 10R, 625 nits is going to allow you to use it normally in a daylight. Even in the bright sun, you can still see what's on the screen. So the display is one of the most important parts of the phone, and the iPhone 8 has a great display. I can only recommend it. Even though it's still a fingerprint magnet, at times on the front panel it's kind of usual, but on the back you can still see so many fingerprints, and it just looks nasty and ugly. But I don't know what you can do about it. Perhaps just put it in a case or put there some sort of sticker, or I don't know. But I wouldn't consider it to be such a big problem, of course. Looking at the internals, the iPhone 8 features Apple A11 Bionic chip, which at its peak was the fastest one. So if you are considering to buy a phone from a similar point of time, or just like a similar category, then the iPhone 8 is going to be one of the fastest one. Initially, when it got released, it was so much faster in all of the Geekbench and score tests when compared to other smartphones. I would not complain about the performance even in right now 2020. Like, of course, it still supports the iOS 13, and running that version on the phone is very snappy. It opens up every app very quickly and responds to touch very rapidly, and I have to say that I didn't really have any kind of problem with some sort of lagging or something like this. It's not like the latest one. There are plenty of other smartphones which are a little bit faster, but the iPhone 8 is just a tiny little bit behind the latest iPhones like the iPhone 11 and stuff. So I guess you won't really have a problem with the performance unless you plan on doing some extreme tasks. One of the things that I still love about the iPhone 8 is that it still features 3D touch. It's like a hardware part, of course, but the newest iPhones do not have that, and I made a dedicated video just about that, talking about how much time the 3D touch actually saves, even running iOS 13. Just take a look at my channel and look at my other videos as well, and if you like them, Make sure you subscribe so you won't miss future videos and future reviews like this one. When it comes to the RAM of the iPhone 8, the base model, I mean the classic iPhone 8, not the Plus model, has 2 gigabytes of RAM, but DDR4 RAM, which is the faster one, and the Plus model has already 3 gigabytes of RAM, which may not seem to be too much, but talking about Apple, the numbers do not really play an important role. So it means that you shouldn't be really looking at the numbers too much. Just pick up the phone and try it out yourself, and you shouldn't have any kind of problem. Let's move on to the cameras. And we do not have a dual lens setup, which is like usual thing nowadays. Like people use phones with 4 lenses. I have a feeling that the more lenses you have on the backside of your phone, the better the camera or the better the photo is. Which on the one hand is true, like you don't have the wide angle lens, which is super cool. And also you don't have the telephoto lens, which is also really cool. But that doesn't mean that the camera is bad. And don't let the single camera setup confuse you. Just don't think that it's a bad camera just because it only has one lens. The camera is amazing. You can shoot 4K video at 60 FPS, which is really remarkable, of course. You can also shoot 1080p video at 240 FPS for nice and smooth slow motion videos. It allows you to zoom in 5 times digitally, which is nice. Nothing extraordinary, but it's decent. Here are some of the photos that I took, like in various conditions, with various lightings. I mean, just take a look at them. I kind of feel that it's just looking really cool. There is, of course, no portrait mode, just like we have it on the iPhone XR, only with the one lens. You have the portrait mode capabilities, but with this one, you do not have it, so just forget about taking portrait photos with the iPhone 8, but it's still a decent phone with the very nice camera. The front-facing camera, however, isn't really anything huge or isn't perfect. Just like all the cameras, if you give them enough lighting, it can give you some nice photos, but in darker environments, it's just gonna really struggle and give you very blurry or noisy images. You can make full HD videos even with a front-facing camera, but only at 30 FPS, which is considered to be normal, but yeah, it's like the usual stuff. The iPhone 8 is rated at IP67 water resistance, which means that you can simply put it into water in like 1 meter and it should be okay, but I'm not gonna try it out, obviously. Yeah, the iPhone is nice, it's sealed, it's very premium feeling, and you of course do not have the headphone jack, like since the iPhone 7 we do not have that. I don't feel like I have to mention it in every review. This is like common thing among smartphones, not only among iPhones, but among smartphones in general. Well, when it comes to the design, like I was already talking about it in the beginning, but this is the latest iPhone with the home button. So you're not using Face ID, but as a security, as a biometric feature, you're going to be using your fingerprint on the home button. It of course uses Touch ID, and if this is like very important to you, like for people that need home button, this is the best choice since it's like the latest iPhone that has the home button. Of course, we expect to see iPhone 9. Not sure about that. No confirmed information from Apple, but that one is supposed to feature the same design with the same home button style, which makes you feel like it's a new design, like I said. When it comes to the software updates, the iPhone 8 has been released running iOS 11 since it was the latest version back then, and now it still supports the latest iOS 13.3.1, and it is still expected to support at least like 3 more major iOS updates, which means, of course, that it's definitely getting iOS 14. I believe that 15 or whatever they're gonna call it, and also the next version, I mean the 2022 iOS should still make its way to the iPhone 8, so I would not worry about a software update, just like all the time with iPhones. The battery life is decent for me. I have to say that the health of my battery is about 84% of my iPhone 8, and it's been used normally, of course, like for a couple of years. So it depends on how heavily you use the iPhone. It's a little bit tricky since it's a little bit more difficult to actually switch the batteries. I mean, if you, for example, break the back glass on the iPhone 8, it's very difficult to switch it. You will probably not be able to do it at home, and that makes it a lot more difficult for people to switch the battery. So But overall, I don't think that the battery is that important. You should definitely get one entire day of battery life. But that, of course, everything depends on the phone and on the way you use it. Let's take a look at the price. This iPhone is still sold on Apple's website, and you can literally go to the Apple Store and get one. But that doesn't mean that you should. Of course, if you just want to get like Apple Care and brand new iPhone, and you don't think that the price is like too much for this phone, just go ahead and do it. The iPhone 8 is going to be great. But considering that the lowest price on iPhone 8 is $450 for the 64 gigabytes version, I mean, you can get it for a lot cheaper on eBay or Craigslist or somewhere else. So I would advise you just look at it somewhere else, decide if you are okay with like used iPhone. And if you do, I would just grab a used phone and don't really worry about it and save about 200 bucks. So this is my personal recommendation. But when it comes to the overall look and just looking at the iPhone in 2020, it definitely pays off to get it. I mean, it's gonna be fast, it's gonna be updated very long, and I can only recommend you this phone. And if you get a deal, like if you get it for about $250, which is not impossible to do, then you're going to be very satisfied with this. The base model is 64 gigs, not like with the iPhone 7 where you could get 32 gigabytes version, which definitely isn't enough. With this one, you're going to have a little bit of storage no matter which phone or which model you get. So I think that you should be okay with the iPhone and with the storage. Just like all the time, there are plenty of cases and plenty of accessories that you can pick from. There are always plenty of accessories for iPhones. So I guess that this is pretty much it. Hopefully I mentioned all of the things that you wanted to know about. And if you have some other questions, then make sure to leave a comments down below and let's discuss the iPhone 8 under the video. So if you enjoyed this video, just leave a like on this one so other people can actually see it. And thank you so much for watching and for your support. See you guys later in the next video. Peace out.